Explain what Saudi Arabia is doing here, creating this price war, Sadat.
Well, good morning. I don't speak for the Saudi government, but I think what we're seeing is a extended effort by Saudi Arabia to try to rationalize the supply-demand markets. The team that worked on this issue for the last several days came to the OPEC meeting with recommendations that were very, very firm to remove 1.5 million barrels of supply over and above the 2.1 million that had been agreed on December. And I think Saudi Arabia found itself alone in taking this posture. We are all aware that there's too much oil in the market, and it's no good for the business. So when everybody decided, the other players, non-OPEC primarily, decided that they weren't going to go alone, Saudi Arabia realized that it just couldn't fix this problem by itself, and so it's protecting its market share, it's positioning itself for the long term.
How much pain do you think that Saudi Arabia itself could face? I mean, it just seems like I get why they're doing this, but their stock market got hit very hard. Aramco got slammed. The price of oil is down 20% right now, on top of the already 30% that it lost this year. And there's going to be a lot of pain.
Well, no doubt. I think everybody is hurting. Nobody comes out of this winning anything. Hopefully, at these prices, and just based on the past experience, other producers will come to their senses, and the whole industry will start rethinking their production levels. The industry can't survive at these prices, definitely not North America. Most of the deep offshore, the Canadian heavy crude, all of these producers are going to need to rethink their production, and maybe we'll get a more concerted effort going forward.
Well, can the Russians survive at this price, or do you think that this is going to force Putin back to the table in some way?
It's very hard to read what the Russians are trying to achieve. They are very, very well informed. They have good economists. They understand the oil industry very well. So what are they trying to achieve? Maybe it's not the leaders. Maybe it's the oligarchs. We can't really figure out what's going on there, but they definitely declined to make any cuts. And in fact, even extending the previous cuts beyond March is now open to question. There will be discussions monthly. The teams that support the OPEC and non-OPEC ministers will continue discussing this on a regular basis. So hopefully some compromise will be arrived at within the near future.
Right. So you do raise an interesting point, which is we can't necessarily fully understand Putin's motivations because there's just so many things going on in terms of Russia and his various relationships, aren't there, that are not easily understood, I guess. Because this doesn't make sense on the face of it.
Absolutely. If it was just a strictly supply-demand question, or if it was, strictly speaking, a market positioning issue, it would be easy to negotiate. But the fact that they had no interest in any sensible cuts, and we all know the supplies are over 3 million barrels in excess in the market. Saudi Arabia has been very prudent. We volunteered cut 400,000 barrels in December, well below our target, and we're holding 2 million barrels of spare capacity as a contingency for the industry. So Saudi Arabia is doing its best to try to rationalize and regulate these markets, but it can't do it on its own.
So if you're a U.S. player, then what is the playbook short of taking an axe to CapEx?
Yes, that is definitely one of the early decisions that has to be made. Pouring more money into capacity isn't going to help anything, both oil and gas. And the services have to reconsider their activities, the spreads that they're keeping. Producers in general have to optimize their operations, their fields, which ones are more prolific, which ones are not. But I think everybody's going to put things on hold for a while until the markets become a little more rational.
Sadat, we've seen President Trump form a relationship with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. We've seen Jared Kushner. I mean, what is your read of where that stands and whether President Trump would allow them to put this kind of pressure on U.S. shale industry if we actually are talking about bankruptcies and a major hit to the energy economy in this country?
I think this is a situation where you don't need political intervention. Yeah, you need economics to go to work. At the end of the day, everybody's convinced by the economic logic of a situation. I think smart investors and smart operators will do what's right for their businesses, and a political intervention probably would be counterproductive from all parts, any side.